Hey everyone! So, after spending 600 hours in Rimworld, I'm going to share what I know by rating every single animal in the base game in terms of functionality for any colony. So, there are few loose categories that I look out for. The first being their function as either a pack animal that can carry stuff during expedition, hold items around your colony, or hold pawns when they're down, and if they can fight for you, and finally, what resources they can give you. So first off, let's get the D tier out of the way because these animals are not really that useful besides providing some meat. And if they do stay in your colony, they're essentially just gonna be pets that need extra food. And so starting off in this category, that will be the beaver. That usually appears in like the Alpha Beaver event. Yeah, and we have the cobra, the health hazard boom rat especially. Um, and I'm sorry, that's the cat and the Yorkshire Terrier. I've nothing against them, but they're just not that useful as compared to the other animals. And all the rodents, so that's the rat, the squirrel, the raccoon as well, the rabbits, the iguana. I'm going to add the tortoise here. I know that the tortoise can produce eggs, but your pawns will have to retain them after 6 to 7 days. So weighing that against like having to retain them every 6 to 7 days, that's just a waste of time. And yeah, as compared to like other birds, I think that's not worth it. And so going back to this list, we're starting off strong with the alpaca. It ticks off the box of being a pack animal, though if I remember correctly, it only carries half the amount of items as other animals such as bison or buffaloes. However, they're great at giving alpaca wool, which is an excellent material for winter clothes. And if you do kill alpacas, they drop camel hide, which is a great material. Not as good as camel hair, but is good alternative for summer clothes. So that's an easy S tier for me. And so next on the list we have the bison. They are pack animals and they carry just as much as buffaloes. They do drop wool, bison wool, which is pretty good for winter. And if you hunt one, they drop a lot of meat, but only plain leather hide. It's really sad to say, but they are just really discount version of buffaloes. So I have to say they're A tier mainly because they're not worth the trade-off of hunting them or taming them as compared to buffaloes. And yeah, buffaloes are next on the list. Buffaloes, however, they are A tier because they do everything that bison do, but drop slightly more valuable blue fur when killed, and they can survive more extreme temperatures than bison. Therefore, yeah, that's an easy S tier. And continuing on, I'm gonna skip lower down because we're continuing on with this bison category, um, with the yak or yak. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one, but yak it is. The yaks, on the other hand, are kind of like bison in which they are pack animals, but where the bison does not produce milk, the yak does. However, the yaks do not produce any wool. So, in that sense, I'd say the wool is more valuable than the milk. And yeah, so I have to say it's unfortunately a B tier for me. So, going back to this list, the Arctic fox, along with all of its cousins, the fennec fox and the normal red fox, they all have the same function and they drop kind of the same items. They all have the ability to fight for your colony, and they're the first hauling animals on this list. And however, the downside is that they can't haul down the colonists, so that's not so great as compared to other animals. But they drop fox fur, which isn't a great material, but it sells pretty well and it has the beauty plus buff. So I'd say they're B tier, which is not bad. It's alright. So I'm gonna add the fox and the fennec fox. Yeah. And next on the list is the Arctic fox. I mean the Arctic wolf with the normal wolf. They're both kind of the same, besides their skin colors and one being in the Arctic, of course. They're both pretty good. They're hauling animals, they'll fight for you, and the plus is that they rescue downed colonists. However, I'm gonna put them in A tier because they're not as easy to tame compared to others, and 100% they'll attack you if hunted. And they do drop wolf skin, so that's pretty good too. And now, wild boars are easy meat sources from my experience if your colonists are a good shot. That's the key. They do travel in groups, so there is a chance that the whole pack will become aggressive if one is hunted. So for that, I'll have to say it's a C tier. Yeah, I'm sorry, but the pork is good. And for boomalopes are S tier because they're easy camp sources and they're relatively easy to tame. They are an explosive hazard, but weighing against the need for power, especially in early game stages, I'd still keep them at S tier. And capybaras. Well, capybaras are C, you know, C for capybara. They're slightly better meat source than many in the D tier, and besides that, that's not much. So it's C for capybara. Caribous, on the other hand, caribous and elk, I'd group both of them together, kind of the same in terms of functionality. If you can tame them, they'll provide milk, and they're an easy source of meat, especially during winter. Therefore, I'd say they're B tier. And next we have the cassowaries. Okay, the cassowaries, emus, and ostriches. I know the ostriches aren't as hostile as the cassowary or the emu, but I just say they're all always angry and starting up wars. All of them can lay eggs if tamed, but there's 100% man-eating chance if failed taming. So I think you get the point if I say they're all C tier, because their redeeming factor is that they just drop a lot of bird meat, and that's pretty good. I think next I'm gonna go over the farm animals, so I might skip further down, but yeah, the next are the chickens and ducks. I'd say they are B tier mainly because they can't defend themselves from predators, and they're yeah, and geese. Well, geese are slightly better because of the amount of meat and eggs, but I still say it's B tier for me. They're alright. Yeah, I mean in real life the geese would be an A, but nah, B tier. I still think they're B tier. Sorry. Okay, and now skipping on to a next farm animal. Cows are B tier because they're not very useful besides meat and milk and plain leather if they kill them. And also they don't really spawn outside of natural events such as like uh cows join your colony or a caravan comes. So yeah, I have to say that's B tier. And going back to this list, I'd say chinchillas and guinea pigs. Well, this might surprise some, but I put them in C tier and not D tier because their fur is pretty valuable and they do drop a decent amount of meat for the small amount of body they have. So yeah, C tier. And so these are cougars and panthers. I'm not sure why they're not colored properly here, but they're in easy A tier for me because just like the wolves, they're trainable and can haul stuff, both your items and your pawns. And when killed, they drop panther fur or panthera fur, which is a good alternative to camel hide and camel hair for summer clothing. However, they're not an S tier because they're not easy to train as well. Yeah, so A tier. The next on the list are deers, which I like to group with the gazelle. Yeah, that's a gazelle. And the ibex ram. They're all easy meat sources and they have a low man-hunting chance, but that's about it. So I'd say they're about a C tier for me. And the donkeys are pretty good at being pack animals and increasing the time of caravan traveling speed. However, other than that, they don't do much otherwise, therefore, they'll have to be B tier for me. Yeah. Oh, these are great. Dromedaries are the buffaloes of the desert. They are excellent pack animals. They are the only animal in the game to provide camel hair, which is great for summer. And another plus is that the females provide milk, so that's an easy S tier. Elephants, on the other hand, are pack animals as well, though they are A tier, even though they are trained to do all the things such as fight, haul items and pawns, but they do need a lot of food and personally I wouldn't mix the function of like a pack animal being an all rounder because that minimizes your productivity in your base. And next, oh, I've got the goat. The goat, I'll put it at C tier as well. Um, no, actually, goats do produce milk if I'm not mistaken, and so I'll put them because they kind of function like cows, just that they don't produce as much meat. Mm, yeah, I'll leave it there for now. But anyway, going back to the list, bears alongside with polar bears are exactly the same, though they are good haulers and drafted fighters, but they do really shine by only requiring like a small amount of food to survive. However, they are difficult to tame, therefore they have to be A tier and not S tier. Horses, on the other hand, are just about the same as donkeys, but carry more and are the fastest, in fact, at increasing caravan traveling speed alongside the trumbos. So yeah, for that, I'm gonna say they're probably like A tier. Huskies and Labradors are probably the best haulers in the game. They function as pets as well and can nuzzle your colonists, which are always a positive buff. They're pretty easy to tame, and for that, I think they deserve the S tier spot. The first haulers of S tier spot. Next on the list, we have the lynx. I think they do the same job as cougars, if I'm not mistaken, and they're pretty smart, but they are hard to tame as well. So for that, they'll just have to be A tier for me. And they do drop panther fur as well, even though they're not panthers. So yeah, that's a plus point for the links. Hi, editing me here. I just wanted to correct myself and mention that the lynx actually can't be trained in any way, so they aren't as smart as the panther or cougar, so they really should be in C tier in terms of how useful they are. Anyway, back to video me. And next on the list we have mega sloths. They can be great haulers and are excellent tanks, but they do consume a lot of food in one day. However, unlike trombuses or trombos, they aren't pack animals, so for that, I think they're gonna have to be B tier. And the next one, oh, monkeys. Monkeys are slightly better than its a D tier counterparts, but that's only because its redeeming factor it's that its ability to haul items. However, other than that, they don't have much use, so they're C tier for me. And the pigs. Well, pigs used to be higher before the new patch, so I would have put it in B tier, but now they're really just domesticated meat sources, so for that they're gonna have to be C. Now, the rhino is pretty useful for meat, but mostly for its leather. I'd say it's quite protective, even quite as protective as double strand, if I'm not mistaken. However, it does not insulate in terms of heat or cold, but it is a good alternative in a pinch, so I'd say it's B tier. Sheep are alright, and literally they're just meat sources, and they can be kept for wool, though weighing that against having a muffalo, I'd say they're just C tier for me. Oh, Trumbos. Trumbos are pretty difficult to tame unless you get the inspiration buff from one of your colonists, but they are pretty tanky in the fight, therefore they're a B tier for me, just like Megasloths. Though actually, they're slightly better than Megasloths in the sense that they can carry stuff during expeditions, so they are A tier. Though really, I would have put in a B plus area, but it's A tier. Ooh, turkeys are actually naturally occurring early in the game. They're easy meat sources and they will never go manhunter on you. They can produce eggs, however, it's much less than chickens, therefore I have to say they're inferior, so they'll have to be in C tier for me. Wargs are trainable fighters, but they do not haul items or people. They are more often than not quite hostile and not easy to tame, so for that, I say they're B tier. Okay, the Mega Scarab. I know some people have tamed them through the Chiral Casket, and they're pretty tanky once you've tamed them. But personally, that's a lot of effort as compared to other animals. But they do drop a lot of meat, so I have to put them in C tier, unfortunately, because the whole process of doing that, I just don't see that being worth your time. Yeah. And for their tiny cousins, I, well, I'll just have to put them in D tier because other than that, they're also not that useful besides dropping insect meat. And so yeah, that's the whole list. And I hope this was helpful and thank you for sticking around to the end. So Bye!